Hey, what's up, YouTube and Buddha Sport fans? This is Matt again. Just kind of wanted to break down, a little article I wrote, or excuse me, that I read about the obvious, and apparent flaws that we have in our MMA scoring system. I read an article in Ultimate MMA Mag, and I kind of wanted to break it down. So in case you didn't have access to that magazine, or you didn't want to take the time to read it, you can just listen to me tell you about it. Basically, to make a long story short, our MMA system is widely based on the same system that they score boxing fights with, the 10-point must system. So, for example, if, say, fighter A and fighter B, engage in the first round, fighter A dominates the round, but maybe doesn't score a knockdown or doesn't do any significant damage that would hinder a 10-8 round, it's going to be scored a 10-9 round. So, just to recap, fighter A dominates a round, doesn't knock him down, doesn't do any significant damage, but single-handedly, just pretty much takes the round with ease, 10-9. Then you got another scenario. Fighter A lands, say, one significant blow. It's a really uneventful round, and fighter B maybe is engaging, but maybe just one really solid punch. Maybe they're in the clinch and one real vicious uppercut. Didn't rock him, didn't stun him, didn't knock him down, and other than that one punch, there's no takedowns. The round was pretty uneventful. Still a 10-9 round. See, the flaw in that is, in the first scenario, fighter A single-handedly whooped my man through the whole round. Maybe he was picking him apart in a stand-up, picked him up, slammed him, got a couple takedowns. Scenario 2, fighter A, lands one punch. And other than that, really doesn't do anything. He just did a little bit more than fighter B. Now that's where the significant flaw lies. Because, obviously, those rounds need to be scored differently because there's two different situations. So what this writer from Ultimate MMA magazine proposed is fractional points. Not like 0.3s, 0.7s, 0.9s, but just half points. So, back to scenario 1. That would remain a 10-9 round because he dominated the round. But in scenario 2, it would be a 10 to 9.5 round. Since how he got the slight edge, but only by a fractional of amount, which then, lies the fractional point. And if you were to use this system, the writer also broke down many fights that had recently been, controversial with this scoring system. For instance, we had the Shogun Machida fight. A lot of people thought that Machida, basically since he was a champ, got given the fight when, Shogun outworked him. A lot of people thought that. According to the scoring system, I don't have the exact scores in front of me, I don't have the magazine with me, but Shogun actually won the fight, which, the system makes a lot of sense. I personally think Machida won the fight, but, the system makes a lot of sense. He broke down the two Tito-Forrest Griffin fights, and both of them ended up in Tito's favor, which I think the second fight, Tito was widely robbed. And for instance, in the second round of that fight, if you're familiar with the fight, I'm a huge Tito fan, so I'm very familiar with the fight. That's the fight Tito scored the takedown, landed the vicious elbows, and cut Forrest all up. Not a single judge on the panel, not one of the three, gave Tito that round. And that was the easiest round to score in the fight. He took the takedowns, he damaged him easily and bloodied him, cut him, and not a single judge gave Tito that round. There's the flaw in the system, and with this fractional point system, it's going to help break down fights, like the Brandon Vera, Randy Couture fight, for example. A lot of people thought Vera won that fight. And under the current rules, Couture actually won the fight. But with this new system, which doesn't award fighters for things that they're not doing, it really broke down with Brandon Vera winning the fight, which I thought he did win the fight. He scored a lot of significant blows. If I remember correctly, he dropped him with a body shot, mounted him, landed some ground and pound shots, but Randy controlled. And that's the thing, the octagon control is a very, very, key point in the scoring system in the UFC. And it's unfortunate, but it's cost some fighters some fights. And you got a lot of people who say, hey, don't leave it in the judge's hands. But with the level of fighters, increasingly on, on a daily basis, You know, a lot of times you don't have that choice. You know, when you're fighting people like Henderson and Jake Shields, for example, those two are fighting this weekend. Fighters like that, Randy Couture is a great example. They slow the fight down, they fight at their pace, and then they control you. And they utilize that term, octagon control, to their advantage. I'm not saying do away with the octagon control, but, you know, I think it needs to be less emphasis on octagon control and then more of productivity. For a perfect example, you know, a fighter scores a takedown, 2-3 takedowns in a round, he gets points for those. Even if he doesn't score a single blow after that takedown. The Frankie Edgar-BJ Penn fight, perfect example. The first takedown, BJ hit his ass for like 2.2 seconds. They didn't count that against him. But the second takedown, Frankie takes him down, you know, a little bit of movement, a little bit of scurrying, BJ's right up. You know, and granted, it's considered a takedown, but it really didn't benefit Frankie in any way. And if anything, it showed how hard it is to hold BJ down and keep him down. So, I mean, why penalize BJ for that fight? I personally think, you know, in that fight, you know, trying to get off the beaten path a little bit, that BJ Penn, you know, in the exchanges that they had, he came away with the harder punches. I personally think that they could have easily gave the fight to BJ, you know, under the unwritten rule that you have to take the belt away from the champion. And me being a huge BJ fan is only, you know, stating that rule because I'm a huge BJ fan. Personally, I think it's bullshit. You know, the belt shouldn't come into factor. You know, if fighter A is fighting fighter B and, you know, fighter B barely wins, they shouldn't let fighter A keep his belt just because he's the champ. I mean, it's a lot of bullshit. But, you know, I just wanted to touch base with you guys here at Buddhasport.com, let you know what I thought about this new scoring system. I'm going to post an article on it where you can read more in depth about it, and I'm obviously going to source the writer, give him credit for it. It's a great article. I can give you guys a link. If you're interested, you can email me at pp.pro@live.com to actually get a subscription to the magazine. It's real inexpensive, 3 years, I think, cost me $72. It's an excellent, excellent magazine. It goes really in depth with fighter camps. Like the last month's issue had a writer go into AKA and enroll with Cain Velasquez and Josh Koscheck and Mike Swick and them down there, and John Fitch as well. And it's a really great magazine. If you guys are interested, you should check it out. And we'll have a link here on Buddhasport.com. I'll post up the article. You guys can read it more in depth. And I appreciate you guys for checking out the videos. Buddhasport.com. You can also catch me at YouTube at MMA@Bull. It's like basically saying Matt with an extra M in front of it. Get it? MMA@Matt. You know, that's me. Anyways, done being a douchebag, I promise. You guys enjoy the fights this weekend, and I appreciate you stopping by.